That's the whole reason that motherfucker made the fucking Babe movies. You know what I mean?
I don't know what you mean, so please tell me about that.
He made it. That's the pull quote at the beginning of the episode.
That's the whole reason that motherfucker made Babe. You know what I mean?
What do you know about two certified bangers? PhantasmaCast.
Welcome back to PhantasmaCast, a show whose title in Latin translates roughly to "We talk about movies two at a time." I'm Derek.
And I'm Jake.
And for today's show, we'll be taking it back to where it all began. Then just before that, to arrive at where we're at right now. Because we're talking prequels. We're talking Rogue One from 2016 and Furiosa from 2024. But before we dive into those, real quick, do a little housekeeping. If this is your first time tuning in, what's up? Stick around for a bit. If you're at all interested in movies and want to hear Jake and myself get real passionate about them, that's what you're signing up for, right?
For real.
Yeah. If you're a returning listener, thank you for your support, and give the new folks some slack, because remember, you were new once too. Okay. The show's a lot of work. But when it's all said and done, our aim is to provide a fun and engaging discussion for everyone to enjoy. And we just talk about movies that we've chosen to pair together, and we hope to provide a fun show for you guys. So if that sounds like something you're on board with, the best way to stay up to date with us is by subscribing to the podcast channel if you're listening to us in the audio form, such as Apple Podcast or Spotify. Or if you're watching this on YouTube, subscribe there. Or better yet, do both, because we also provide some kind of video form content that you can only see on YouTube. So that's at 2 Certified Bangers on YouTube. And you can follow us on our socials where we post stuff there all the time too. Now into the movies.
On with the show.
On with the show now. So Jake, you want to take us into Rogue One?
Rogue One. Heard of it? A Star Wars story.
That's right. We're doing it. We're talking Star Wars finally.
From Lucasfilm comes an epic adventure. Epic. From Lucasfilm comes an epic adventure. Rogue One, a Star Wars story. In a period of great conflict, a group of unlikely heroes led by Jyn Erso, a daring fugitive, and Cassian Andor, a rebel spy, band together on a desperate mission to steal the plans to the Death Star, the Empire's ultimate weapon of destruction. That's it. That is exactly the story.
Yeah.
Which I think is a really cool idea, right? The first Star Wars movie kicks off with, and I watched it last night too, just in preparation, because I wanted to have that insight to it.
Yeah. It's okay. I watched the first Mad Max last night.
Okay,
too,
good,
so
good.
We were on the same wavelength there.
So that first movie, if you drill it down, it really revolves around getting those plans to the Death Star to the Rebel Alliance so that they can mount their attack against the Death Star.
Yeah, that initial urgency is because something just happened.
Yeah.
And we're going.
Yeah. It starts off, the Empire is boarding this ship. They run into Princess Leia. She's given R2-D2 the plans. They jettison onto Tatooine. And then that's what kind of is the thing that calls our, heroes to action. Right.
Right. And when you're watching it, you're like, you don't know who any of these characters are. You're just like, who? What? Huh? But as long as that's interesting to you, you're like, I'm on board. Yeah. What's going to go on with these plans and that robot guy and that princess lady?
Yeah. Yeah. You're immediately hooked, right?
Yeah.
Because the first shot of the movie is boom, planet.
Oh, yeah.
Come down. Ship flies by. Even bigger ship flies by. You're in.
Yeah.
Right?
We're in the middle of a space battle. Literally a Star War.
Yeah. One of the many Star Wars. In the opening crawl of A New Hope, you have a little section that says, During the battle, rebel spies managed to steal secret plans to the Empire's ultimate weapon, the Death Star, right?
Yeah.
And that right there is really the genesis of Rogue One, a Star Wars story. Because it attempts to tell the story of how the plans were stolen, but it also presents this diverse and I think really engaging cast of characters.
Absolutely.
You've got Jen Erso, who is the daughter of this Imperial engineer.
Yeah.
Cassian Andor, played by Diego Luna, who he says, "I've been in this fight since I was 6 years old." He's just awesome.
Yeah. Diego Luna's awesome. He's like a true scoundrel in the way that like Han Solo kind of is.
Yeah.
Like
Han Solo wishes he was as scoundrel.
Dude. He like the way we're jumping ahead a little bit, but the way like Andor just like shoots that guy in the back.
Yeah.
And he's like, I don't know how I'm going to get out of here. He's like, it's going to be okay. That's hard.
You know, this movie is serious as soon as because he's like, I can't let this guy get caught by the Empire or else my plan is fucked. So sorry, guy, you know?
So when he's like, I've done things for the movement, we're like, oh, I know.
Yeah.
We saw one of them.
Yeah. He's prepared to do anything. Yeah. And so, I just think Rogue One, and this statement is probably going to catch me some heat. And
we're talking about Star Wars. We're going to catch heat, even if we said it's the best movie ever. Nothing else compares.
Yeah.
Which I don't believe. Like, it's a great movie. So that's just going to come with the territory talking about Star Wars.
Yeah. There's no right answer with Star Wars.
Yeah.
But I think Rogue One is just the best Star Wars movie that exists.
It got me emotional when I was watching it again. And
Yes.
I kind of hate that it got me emotional. I've like as a kid, I loved Star Wars. As an adult, I love it a lot less. I still like it, but I think there's just like too much of it now. Like it stopped being a precious commodity of just these movies that existed. Now it's movies, comic books, extended universes, cartoons, yada yada. And there was always that like commercial aspect to it.
I mean, toys, for one, right? But I think when we were kids, because we're 90s kids, we were not alive, I don't think, by the time all three of the first three Star Wars movies came out, right?
No way.
So to us, like Star Wars was like an experience that our parents kind of passed down to us.
Yeah.
And it was a dream-like kind of thing. And you're like, those things existed in a realm beyond me, Yeah. And then the prequels came out and that kind of created a different Star Wars. And then the sale of Star Wars to Disney created another kind of Star Wars.
A whole different beast. Yeah. Because at least the prequels were George Lucas.
Yeah.
And you still have people being like, that's the original creator coming in and you might not like what he did, but that's George.
Yeah.
And I'll stand by that.
Yeah.
Sure.
And I'm going to get into the whole Disney-fication of Star Wars in a bit.
Okay.
But back to why I love this one.
Yeah, please.
First off, it was directed by Gareth Edwards, right? So guy who, he exploded onto the scene with Monsters.
Yes.
His indie darling. And then was tapped to kick off a new series of Godzilla movies.
The ultimate monster,
Yeah. And I really like that Godzilla.
I really liked it too. I'm still shocked that they let him spoilers for that Godzilla. I'm still shocked that they let him kill Bryan Cranston like that. I remember being in the theater just when it happened. I was like, cool. Movies still like these kind of like big blockbusters still have the capacity to make me go, oh,
yeah,
we're going to go there.
I mean, that just shows you the dude knows how to make you fall in love with and connect with the character. And he's not afraid of taking that away from you. You know?
He was making that action matter.
Yeah.
Which we'll come back to that with our Mad Max discussion.
Yeah. And I think that's the problem, I think, with like superhero movies or, just like big blockbuster movies in general is like there's no sacrifice, made by the protagonists anymore.
Agree. Yeah. Especially when we're being push this like multiverse
Yeah.
kind of thing.
Yeah, there are no consequences to anything that happens. So why do I even buy into the stakes at this point, you know?
Right. It was probably a cool ass idea as a comic book,
Yeah.
because then you can see a different iteration of that character in a different issue, in another run of that comic book. It doesn't have the same way. It's not, movies aren't comic books.
Uh-huh.
There's different stakes to it. There's a point where you tap out at a certain point. And I think we're kind of getting there.
Yeah. I think there's a time and place for like fun cinema, you know? But you know, it would be nice for me and my adult emotions to be catered to as well. You know, sometimes, every once in a while.
Yes. Hard agree. Again, if you like these movies, by all means, I'm not trying to take that away from you.
Yeah.
It just, if they're going to be in the theaters all the time, sucking up the air of like other adult fare, and not like, you know, that kind of adult fare, but like movies that like kind of respect your intelligence a bit more, then I start to resent them.
And that is one of the commendable things I think about Rogue One, because I think it's probably the only, maybe with the exception of like the earlier Star Wars films, but it's probably the only Rogue One film that like I think is made for adults.
Yes.
You know, not to say that it has, you know, content that's too heavy for kids, but like
it's not The Godfather. It's not Casablanca.
Yeah. But it deals with themes, and it dives into, you know, really hard decisions that the characters have to make.
Yeah.
And that is engaging to an older audience. We crave that kind of stuff. We want to see our heroes have to make those decisions.
Yeah.
So Gareth Edwards, you know, made that happen for this movie. And just a little bit about him. He is a Star Wars fanatic. Like,
yeah. Go into it. I got a little bit of that from the featurettes that I did end up checking out.
Yeah. He visited the ruins of the Tunisian set for his 30th birthday. Like,
dork.
Like, I like cool. Star Wars, but this dude loves Star Wars. You know what I mean?
Okay. Cool.
And then something that so when Lucasfilm was developing their roster of spin-off stories, right?
Okay.
They said they'd been very interested in working with filmmakers who had distinct perspectives, which is what led them to Gareth Edwards, because George Lucas really liked monsters. They liked that he was the kind of guy that would make a big monster. I don't know if you could call it a kaiju movie, but that kind of movie, but from the perspective of the humans on the ground, and having a focus on the devastation left afterwards rather than the action of the monsters tearing up a city, you know?
Right.
Okay. And one thing that I really loved is in an early meeting, he was asked what he loved about Star Wars. And Gareth Edwards said, "I've always wanted to join the Rebel Alliance." And that's something that gave me chills, right?
Okay.
Like that, like that's like you can see him as a little kid, just like imagining himself like in this fight against the Empire, which I think is just so cool.
Yeah, they're like 2 arms, and he's like, yeah,
yeah,
that's cool.
I can remember when I was a kid, I was really obsessed with the speeder bike sequence in Return of the Jedi.
Yeah.
Through the forest.
Still am.
Yeah. And so like I would ride my bike just like really fast and like pretend that I was like bobbing and weaving through. So I can understand that, you know, like little kid inside him kind of approach to it.
Yeah.
So there's that. There's, you know, his commitment to, you know, presenting an adult story with adult themes. And then he also approached the film with a clear vision that he wanted to maintain continuity between his story and A New Hope while trying to do something new at the same time. He says that coming up with designs that feel like they live within the original trilogy that you haven't seen before is really hard. And I really understand that sentiment. It's one thing to have an original vision, you know, and want to make your mark that way, but it's a whole other thing to make audiences feel like they're watching the same kind of movie that they watched 40 years ago, you know,
without it just being completely derivative. I mean, it's derivative in the sense that it's a prequel to Star Wars,
right?
You know, so, but to try, I admire the trying to stay true, but be new also.
I love that.
Put that on a shirt.
Yeah. Stay true, but be new. Neil Lamont, the co-production designer on Rogue One, said that, you know, they were dedicated to making it so you could watch Rogue One and Episode 4 back to back and feel like they're, you know, within the same period.
Okay.
And like, again, I did watch Rogue One and Episode 4 back to back, and like, it's kind of surprising just like how small of details, you know, that you catch. Like one thing that I keep seeing, especially watching Andor, because Andor is very close in design to Rogue One. Whenever you see the Imperial officers, they've got these like little pen things in these like little notches by their shoulder, and I always find myself sitting there going, what the hell is that? You know? But I noticed it. So I've noticed it in Andor, and then I went back and I watched A New Hope, and I'm like, those fucking pen things are in that movie too. Like they drilled it down. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, they've got the resources. They got the Lucasfilm archives, right?
Yeah.
They can go right to the source.
And they did. They went back to Ralph McQuarrie's original sketches.
Cool.
So he was the production designer in the original trilogy. And they took inspiration from everything. The droids, the sets, the ships, the weapons, everything. The little pens and the materials. Doug Chiang, the other co-production designer, said something that I really, you know, thought was a nice homage to Ralph McQuarrie. He said Ralph created the shapes that became Star Wars.
Aw, that's sweet.
And it's true, because like you watch a Star Wars movie, maybe with the exception of the prequels, because they don't, I think George was definitely trying to set like a different era, you know, of that galaxy.
Yeah.
But when you watch the original trilogy, and then you watch the sequels, I think look more like the original trilogy than the prequels.
Yeah, because George with the prequels was trying to create the era of like when the Jedis, oh my God, I can't believe I'm getting this nerdy about it, but when he was trying to create like when the Jedis were thriving,
yeah,
right?
Versus when the Republic was thriving.
Yeah, it's like pre-Empire, post-Empire. That's just that's the sequel trilogy. I mean, the prequel trilogy and the original trilogy in a nutshell. Pre and post Empire, really.
Yeah, everything in the prequels looks more, I think, colorful and vibrant and lively,
like ostentatious.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
After watching, I think it was episode 1, like when it first came out, and my sister was like, "Well, why is it that, like, if this is supposed to be, you know, older or before the original movies, why does everything look newer?" And I think there's a good answer there. It's because when the Empire took control, the galaxy went through a fucking depression, you know, galaxy-wide depression.
Or they said, burn it all.
Yeah.
Leave no trace.
Yeah. But it's not exactly a thriving society, you know, that the Empire, you know, brought about.
Yeah. When I think of that, I think of like, look at the Colosseum now. And then like, imagine what it could have been like at the peak of Rome.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like it didn't look like shit then. Like Rome was Rome then. And then the downfall happened.
Yeah.
And now it's a ruin.
Self-interest took hold, and everything just kind of was left to decay. Yeah. You know?
Maybe there's a lesson there.
Maybe fascism isn't all that great. Yeah. But yeah, it certainly feels like a Star Wars movie, you know? So I love that dedication the dedication to say, you know, these are sister films. Like, let's make it feel like that.
Yeah.
Another thing that I love that kind of helps accomplish that is the work that the composer Michael Giacchino did for the film. Because this is correct me if I'm wrong, but I think this is the first Star Wars film that doesn't have John Williams as the composer.
I want to say yeah, because Force Awakens had come out at this time and they were like, John Williams is back, baby.
Yeah.
And then this was the next one.
Did John Williams do Last Jedi?
Yeah, he did all the
sequels. Okay, so this is the first Star Wars movie without John Williams as the composer.
Yeah.
And so that's talk about big shoes to fill.
Dude, yeah, putting a target on your own back. But I think he made, again, what Gareth Edwards was trying to do of like familiar, new but true.
Yeah.
New but true. And I think that comes through.
Yeah, and I like his approach to that, right? Like he didn't want to just copy what John Williams did, but he also didn't want to make something that was so uniquely him that like it just doesn't feel like a Star Wars movie. So he actually ended up using some of John Williams' melodies from the original films.
Okay.
And kind of mix that in, and you see that come through. I'm gonna name the songs.
Okay.
It's okay if you don't know what they are. Go back and listen to them, and you can hear the melodies in them. But the songs, the Imperial Suite, Guardians of the Wills, Your Father Would Be Proud, and Hope. Those songs, like I think Guardians of the Wills was the song that they used for the Blu-ray menu song.
Okay. I'm not immediately recalling that, but that's got to be for the Donnie Yen character, right? And I forget the other actor's name, like Chirrut and Baz. Really, those guys, because I think they call them the Guardians of the Force or something like that.
Yeah, they're guardians of like the city, where they get the kyber crystals.
Yeah. Or they're guardians of nothing now, as Andor says.
But yeah, and you know, like there's a whole way that like composing a film works, right? Like you have like action sequences have their feel, but then different characters have their own kind of themes that, you know, come and reoccur. And so I like the idea that he like took those and weaved them in to songs.
Smart.
And just a fun fact, I went to Spotify to play these songs and try and compare them. When you listen to Star Wars soundtracks on Spotify, the playhead of the track turns into a lightsaber growing. Wow. I took it to Brittany. I was like, I fucking love when they do this shit. And she's like, nerd. I love that. So all that to say, you know, like when the idea of a prequel is presented, I think it's important to ask why. Why is the film being made? How does it add to the story? How does it provide or change the context of the story that it's supposed to be preceding?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I think Rogue One does an excellent job for if not for just one reason. I'll get to that next, but my first reason is I think it paints a clear picture of the oppression of the Empire.
Yes.
Especially so with like Andor, which itself is a prequel to Rogue One.
Second Andor mention. Let's go. Got another Andor head.
But like in that opening crawl of A New Hope, it's referred to as the evil Galactic Empire, and so I can see Gareth Edwards going back and looking at that and going, okay, like we need to show why. We need to show the level of oppression that or even just like show more imperial stuff to kind of like further investigate the attitudes of the people in the Empire.
Yeah. Yeah. Really explore the evil ethos and the kind of people that support that. And I think Ben Mendelsohn as Orson Krennic He's great.
He's
fucking awesome.
I want to see more. I want to see more Krennic.
Yeah.
That scene, because like his whole thing is like ambition, you know. I think he's not like an evil guy. Like his whole motivation is he's making this Death Star because he wants to like, you know, earn favor with the Emperor. Because he's always like I'm gonna get credit for this.
Yeah. You told the Emperor about my Death Star thing, right?
And he even goes up to Darth Vader and is just like, you're gonna tell the Emperor, right?
So I'm having a bit of a work tiff.
Yeah.
This Tarkin guy, he took credit for my shit. It's fucked up, man. I did it.
And then when they destroy, is it Jakku? Jeddah. Jakku's the planet Rey lives on.
Yeah.
When they destroy Jeddah, and it cuts to his reaction, and like his expression would say like he's in awe of the devastation, you know. It's almost a look of horror, but then he says, how beautiful, you know, like he's so impressed with like this thing that he's built that can destroy worlds.
Yeah.
And that's, you know, say what you will about the Emperor's motivations, but like, you know, the Empire, the Imperials, the military complex of that system, it's just people trying to fucking get to the top, you know? And I appreciate that perspective, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I really like how that comes back later. His like awe of what the Death Star can do. And he's like, oh, this is what they'll remember me for, kind of thing. Because then when Andor shoots him, you know, spoilers, of course, when Andor shoots him later and he's just kind of like flopped up on top of that like communications tower.
Yeah.
The last thing he sees is the Death Star coming up to him, and he's like, that's the last shot we get of him.
Yeah.
Of like, oh no.
Yeah.
Now I'm on the receiving end of it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Beautiful.
Is a perfect Frankenstein moment, you know?
What have I created?
Yeah. But I you know, I think if there's one thing that Rogue One does that makes it the perfect prequel is it took a really silly idea from the first movie and made it make sense in an ingenious and dramatic way. Do you know what that is?
I wrote it down.
Go for it.
That the key to destroying the Death Star was a flaw built in there on purpose.
Yes.
Why? By the guy who was roped into creating it, because he was like, fuck this.
Yes.
They killed my wife, made me like abandon my daughter. I'm building in a failsafe in this motherfucker. And I'm naming it after you. I'm naming the plans after you. Stardust.
Yeah.
Oh,
it's
my
so
heart.
devastating.
Oh, God. Yeah.
Yes, it is. This stupid thing that Star Wars fans have been fighting about for years. Why was it so easy to blow up the Death Star? Why would they do that? Why would they put such an easy way to destroy it? Guess what, motherfucker? It's Galen Erso's final fuck you to the Empire.
Yeah. Check fucking mate, dude.
Yes. I love that. Like if there's anything, if there is one plus of this movie, it's that it did that. And I love it.
Yeah.
So, you know, it is a prequel, and it is the first thing that, you know, really kicked off the Disneyfication of Star Wars. So I wanted to kind of go through this and tell you a Star Wars story.
Beautiful. Beautiful how you brought that up.
So in 2012, George Lucas sells Star Wars to Disney for $4 billion.
And the world has been shit ever since now.
Disney announces a new trilogy of films, the first of which to come out in 2015, directed by J.J. Abrams. It's around this time they start developing spin-off series and films, the first of which happened to be Rogue One, a Star Wars story, which released just before The Last Jedi. But a really cool story about how it started.
Cool.
John Knoll, who was a longtime visual effects artist at Lucasfilm, had pitched the idea for Rogue One years and years and years ago.
Okay.
And then when Star Wars got sold to Disney and Kathleen Kennedy became the president, he thought to himself, he's like, I gotta try pitching it one more time.
He's like, listen, I got a heater.
Yeah.
Okay.
And he based the pitch solely off of that one line from the crawl that I read.
Oh, okay.
He was just a guy, right, who works at Lucas. He works at Industrial Light and Magic, and he's just like, that would be a cool idea for a movie, wouldn't it? Wouldn't it?
Like it was there the whole time.
Yeah, and so Kathleen Kennedy actually liked it. She thought it would be a great idea to kick off the standalone series. Wouldn't that be cool? to just be sitting on this idea for years, and then you finally work up the courage one day and pitch it, and they're just like, all right, we're gonna throw $250 million at this and make it.
Why the fuck haven't we done this?
Yeah. So after Rogue One, Lucasfilm puts out Solo, a Star Wars story.
I'm a Solo head. I like Solo. Sorry.
It was a fun movie.
Yeah.
Definitely not Rogue One.
It's not
heavy.
Rogue One level, but they don't have to be.
I'm not. They don't have to be compared in terms of quality, but like they're different tones.
Yeah.
And that movie explores the origins of Han Solo and Chewbacca. And then after that, we don't see any more theatrical films. Spin-offs, at least. After Solo, I think they did the last of the sequels. We didn't see any more movies. Largely that is the result of the pandemic. Disney is not going to release a Star Wars movie that bombs. They're just not.
Yeah.
At the time people couldn't go to the theater, so that makes sense. And then in the 2023 Writers Guild strike happens. So I think how they pivoted was they decided to focus on filling out their lineup for Disney Plus, the streaming platform.
Yeah, they were just following the Marvel model. Too. Also Disney, so it's like, hey, our guys.
Yeah.
What are you guys doing? Shows? We'll do that too.
Yeah. And I think, from a financial standpoint, it makes sense, right? Because the theater system during the pandemic is volatile, right? And they have a guaranteed audience for streaming. So I can see why that decision's made. So between 2019 and 2024, we get The Mandalorian, The Book of Boba Fett, Obi-Wan Kenobi, Andor, Ahsoka, The Acolyte, and Skeleton Crew, all of which explore different periods within the Star Wars universe, and they're tangential to the Skywalker saga.
Yeah.
Right.
And that's just live action.
Yes.
There's some animated stuff in there too that we didn't mention.
Exactly.
So that's a lot.
Yeah. Yeah. And this is in addition to like the Clone Wars animated series that had been going on for a long time before the Disney acquisition.
Yeah. The Bad Batch is another animated one that comes up.
Yeah. I wouldn't be surprised if all or some of these began development as theatrical films and they just kind of pivoted to streaming, to turning them into shows because, they couldn't bank on the theaters bringing in that money.
Yeah.
But there's more on the way.
Oh.
Yeah. Yeah. So Star Wars is not doomed to just be series on Disney Plus, although we are getting Andor season 2 like literally this week.
Yeah.
And so we're both excited about that.
Or shortly after this episode airs.
Yeah.
So.
Woo. We're going to get and this is not an exhaustive list at all. These are just like these are just the collaborations I'm excited about, but we're getting The Mandalorian and Grogu from Jon Favreau. We're getting a Taika Waititi Star Wars film. We're getting a James Mangold film. I know you like him.
Yeah. I like some of his earlier films.
Yeah.
Really, the Indiana Jones one kind of soured me.
Oh, did you watch? Was Dial of Destiny?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was dull. I'll just say that. It was a way to fill out a few hours. And I love seeing Harrison Ford. But I like seeing Harrison Ford's real face, which is an issue I will actually talk about for Rogue One too. I think.
Oh, I know what you're going to talk about.
Yeah.
We're getting a Dave Filoni. I think a couple of Dave Filoni films. We're getting, since you're a solo head, we're getting a Lando Calrissian movie.
That's been rumored for a bit.
Developed by Donald Glover. Donald Glover just so they had another filmmaker attached to like write it. Donald Glover is now writing it and producing it.
Okay.
So I think that's gonna be cool.
Could be, yeah.
The list goes on. And I think that just shows like Disney and Lucasfilm's dedication to continuing to explore the Star Wars universe and printing money. But they're building on that foundation that George Lucas set, 40 years ago.
Yeah.
Do I think that the Disneyfication of Star Wars comes with its problem? Yes, absolutely. But and as much as I hate the sequels, which I do, I can't stand them.
I think The Last Jedi is good. Yeah, that's right.
It's astounding how many stupid decisions were made by the people in charge for those movies. But at the end of the day, I would rather have more Star Wars than less. So
yeah, I would rather have quality Star Wars. And I know you're like, but you like The Last Jedi. Yeah. That's because I like Rian Johnson. Yeah. I don't like J.J. Abrams as a director. Mm-hmm. I will say he's probably a fantastic human being and people love him. He's probably a great producer. Hell, he saved Phantasm, right?
Yeah.
Always be grateful to him for that. But just as a director, I don't know what new or interesting things he brings to it. Because Last Jedi
he's a style guy.
Yeah. Because like The Last Jedi was divisive because it had specific things that it did. Mm-hmm. Other than just rehash, which is what JJ did. JJ just rehashed.
I think that was a problem. I lay a lot of the blame on the development of those films because in my head, what I think happened was someone along the way was like, well, we should remake Star Wars. and then a smarter voice in the room said, you can't do that. You can't remake Star Wars.
They had cameras, they cast, and then when they right as they're about to record, they're like, okay, but how?
Yeah. And then it went to the dumbest voice in the room that said, well, we could remake Star Wars, but we'll call it a sequel.
Yeah.
And so it's just like the whole way the sequels were constructed, I disagree with it wholeheartedly. Like it really didn't add anything. It rehashed basically the plots even, which is odd,
Yeah. I'm gonna say nice things about them real quick.
Okay.
BB-8.
Yeah.
The Salt Planet and the Force Ghost from Last Jedi. And even Rise of Skywalker. Yeah, I'm going to say something nice about it because it's way too easy to punch down at that or punch up at it. Yeah, it's a big corporate movie. Whatever, it's punching up. Babu Frick. I love Babu Frick, man. Oh, did you fix? Love him. Great. More. Babu Frick show when?
Is that's a Last Jedi edition?
No,
right?
Rise of Skywalker.
No? Babu Frick came in the last movie?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay. Huh. I'm surprised.
It was the only, like, me watching The Rise of Skywalker, I was just, oh, boy. And then Babu Frick shows up and I go, hey, there's a guy.
A shining light in the darkness.
A little guy.
Yeah, Babu.
Hey, Babu. Hey, Babu. Yeah, that was the voice. Oh, yeah, because he shows up in that ship near the end. It's just, Babu. Yeah, because he doesn't actually do that because we watched it together and I was like, oh.
He doesn't do that.
I embellished a little bit. He does pop up, but he doesn't just shout his name.
He just kind of goes, ah!
Hey!
Yeah. I don't want to end it on a negative tone, but I feel like you had something to say about the CG faces.
Yes. Yeah. Which I don't want to lay the blame at the visual effects artists themselves. Because I have an idea it was probably John Knoll's idea. I'm speculating, allegedly. But I don't think it worked. And I think it's like a bad indication of what Disney is willing to do to try to, in the name of like brand synergy, to try to make it seem as seamless to a movie that came out 35, 40 fucking years ago.
Right.
Before we had this technology, just cast an actor who kind of looks like that person and can maybe do an approximation of their mannerisms. And they did that. They got Guy Henry, Guy Henry to play Tarkin. I think he does a really good job.
He does a really good job. He looks like Peter Cushing.
Yeah.
Which, you know, I think I mostly agree. Like it is a weird decision, right?
Yeah. Quality of the CG notwithstanding, the decision itself, weird.
Right.
Ghoulish.
Right. And how I imagine these actors, because they did that to the Carrie Fisher person too.
I wrote her name down. She's like a Norwegian. Ingvild Delia is how I want to say. Yeah.
I watched that featurette where, you know, they genuinely seemed excited to like occupy the roles that and to like, and even the guy said, he's like, I'm not an impersonator, you know? So, you know, I feel bad that their performances just kind of got hidden or like, you know, painted over, you know, with CG. I will say though, when I first watched this movie, I had no idea. I don't know.
Maybe you had a darker theater.
I don't know how it made it past my fucking radar, but I was sitting there the entire time going, dude, they cast someone who looks just like Peter Cushing.
Okay, so maybe it was such a short goal of like trying to fool you for that moment.
Yeah.
That maybe they got some archive footage of Peter Cushing or something, or maybe they got a guy who looks just like him. But I think the practice of just casting an actor who looks like them, more or less, to fill that role, I don't think that's broke. I think that's perfectly fine, and we should continue to do that, because then that's still another actor whose career matters. They're not just, here, do this dead guy's thing.
Put this mask on.
Yeah, put this digital mask on and then fuck off, because like everyone's gonna think you're that guy anyways.
Yeah.
We're not gonna think of them as Guy Henry. It's gonna be, oh, that Peter Cushing puppet thing.
Yeah.
You know? And that's fucking weird. And I think it's a weird it's a bad precedent to set. It's a canary in the coal mine, because then we get fucking Dial of Destiny. You know, we get Harrison Ford CGI'd up. Dude, fucking Solo, the guy who played Solo, he's there too, or someone else too. You could just be like, you could have a date and we'd know that, okay, Harrison Ford doesn't look like that anymore. It's fine. But if he's wearing his fucking getup, we get the idea that that's supposed to be Indiana Jones.
Yeah. Well, and we're pulling this a little further away from Rogue One, but like are all of the Indiana Joneses we get after Harrison Ford fucking kicks the bucket gonna be CG indies?
Right.
You know?
Like, is this that test run of like, no, don't worry, we can get a guy in there and just put his face on it because you like his face, right?
Yeah. We are adults. We're not going to throw a fucking tantrum if you recast Harrison Ford.
Right.
Because he's too old to be a fucking action hero.
Exactly. And I was just like, so who is this for? Like, adults know that time has passed since A New Hope.
Yeah.
So I don't expect Peter Cushing to be alive. I don't expect Carrie Fisher to look like she did in 1977.
Yeah.
I can take it. Is it for the children? Are the children showing up going, oh boy, I hope my favorite character actor, Peter Cushing's here?
Yeah.
No, they're not. So it's the corporation that wants this.
I can see it both ways. I can be like pissed off and question the ethics of it, but I can also appreciate maybe the idea that and this could be true, it could not be true, but maybe they were like, we want to preserve, you know, Peter Cushing's indelible mark on the franchise by like making his performance continuous, you know, since it's the direct, like I can see there's a sentiment that could be there. I think that's probably the seed of it, but then, you know, then you get VFX artists involved and you know, they're like they're like the Imperials trying to like climb the ladder. They're like, we've got an idea, you know, and it's going to look like shit and will be overtaken by an app on your phone in 5 years anyways. But like you've seen those like phase covers, right? They're better than they were in Rogue One. It's crazy.
Yeah. Better is a word for it. But like, I don't know. I get pissed off when I see shit like that.
Yeah. It waters down and disrespects performance.
Yes.
At the end of the day, that's what it does.
Yeah. That's just what I wanted to speak on.
Yeah.
Because like that aside, and that is a big thing. I think Rogue One is a great movie.
It's
the
best
story.
Star Wars movie in this man's opinion.
Yeah, despite a lot of like my personal opinion on some technology used to make some of those performances happen. And then there's like some behind the scenes drama about like reshoots and like, but that's just normal for big movies like this. Is like they get it together. Some things aren't working, so they need to go back and tweak some things.
It's like, do you know how many fucking just shots there are in 2 minutes of an action movie?
Right.
They're gonna miss it the first time around.
Yeah, unless you're George Miller, and we'll get it.
Speaking of, I think that's a good
jumping off point.
Yeah, let's do Furiosa. I'm so excited to talk about Furiosa.
Okay.
I'm so excited to hear what you have to say too.
All right, here we go. So Furiosa. Let's dive into it. I'll read the back of the box here. Fury is born. As the world falls, young Furiosa is snatched from the green place of many mothers and ends up in the hands of a great biker horde. Caps. It's biker horde led by the warlord Dementus. Sweeping through the wasteland, they come across the Citadel, presided over by Immortan Joe. While the two tyrants war for dominance, Furiosa must survive many trials as she puts together the means to find her way home. That sounds kick-ass.
Absolutely.
Because it is. Because Furiosa rocks. And I'll get to this, but Jake and I actually saw this movie in the theater together, and we were just like, yes, we came out of the theater. We were like, witness me. It ruled. We loved it entirely. So we are biased in favor of this. Honestly, every movie that we talk about in here on this podcast, we love in some form or another.
Yeah.
Okay. So like we're here to mostly celebrate these movies.
Our favorite movies 2 at a time.
Yeah. Our favorite movies 2 at a time. That's Latin.
Yeah.
PhantasmaCast. It's Latin. So before to kick off my Furiosa discussion, I'm going to quote scripture. Okay. And by scripture, I mean Hideo Kojima's tweet upon seeing Furiosa in theaters. For those who don't know, Hideo Kojima is like a pretty celebrated Japanese video game developer. He says, "Witnessed Furiosa, a Mad Max Saga. Love it already." He's using the lingo. This movie, which easily surpasses Mad and even past Fury, is at its max. Master in parentheses, masterpiece. Ever since I saw the first film when I was 16 years old, George Miller has saved me, encouraged me, and changed my way of life countless times. He is my God, and the saga that he tells is my Bible. I think of that every time I see this cover. I go, he is my God, and the saga that he tells is my Bible. Thank you, Kojima-san. So yeah, we witnessed this together in theaters, and it fucking ruled. Fury Road also rules, and is somehow about to approach its 10th anniversary.
That's crazy.
Can you believe that?
Yeah.
Time passes. That's wild.
I remember when I watched Fury Road, I was kind of in a space where I was like, man, the action genre is kind of dead to me. Like there's nothing, because at that point there'd been like so many Fast and Furious movies, which you still love.
I still love. I will say they pale in comparison.
Yeah. And even like Marvel movies are action packed, but they're not all that. I don't think they're all that inventive, you know. And I feel like action movies are kind of like magic tricks in that sense, where they're like you've got to wonder what's gonna happen next, you know.
Yeah.
And Fury Road fucking just destroyed that thought entirely.
It's like it makes you wonder what's gonna happen next, but also what the fuck did I just watch?
Yeah.
Too.
It's
throughout.
Like, I've never called a film exhilarating until I watched Fury Road, and that shit was exhilarating.
Yeah, I feel the same way when I'm like reading a box and then you see like the little pull quote. I'm like, it's exhilarating. All right, Peter Travers. Yeah, sure. Dude. Sorry, Peter, if you're watching this or get sent to this. I didn't mean that. But yeah. Both of these movies like put a big fucking smile on my face every time I watch them, and they continue to. Like Fury Road also just reignited my respect for like practical effects and like a good stunt team. It just made me aware of just how like unrivaled the talent in the teams that George Miller assembles and his producers and stuff, because it's not just George Miller. I'm going to say George Miller is a shorthand for a lot of things, but it's truly like a team, a collaborative effort. So
yeah. He's got a whole team that is designing the sequences, you know, and he's just like, go, you know.
He's like, right on, or let's make it a little bit more epic.
There's not enough epic. We need more epic.
We need more epic. I love you, Bill, but we need a little bit more epic. And he's like, oh, gotcha, George.
Bring out the epic meter.
Witness me. Oh, man, we're getting loopy. Okay. So, yeah. And then, so for Fury Road and Furiosa specifically, because these are like the newer Mad Max movies, they're really enhanced with some like top-notch visual effects. It's not a crutch. It's just seamlessly blending all that together, which is the perfect way to use that tool.
Yeah.
Blend it together, not just replace everything and figure it out later.
That's the whole reason that motherfucker made the fucking Babe movies. You know what I mean?
I don't know what you mean, so please tell me about that.
He made it. That's the pull quote at the beginning of the episode.
That's the whole reason that motherfucker made Babe. You know what I mean?
He made his own production.
The Talking Pig movie. The Talking Pig movie.
I can't recall what his production studio is called, but he made it to develop the methods and technology of seamlessly stitching practical and VFX.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So he's an Australian James Cameron kind of thing. He's like developing his own tech.
Oh yeah, dude. And that's why he made that Penguin fucking movie too.
You should always introduce the other movies that another filmmaker has made like that. He made the fucking Pig movie. He made that Babe movie. He made that Penguin movie too.
Yeah.
Okay. Happy Feet rule though. Those movies are good. I remember the first one a lot more than two. I can't say I remember two all that much, but like I think he did both of them. So like
I've only seen the first one.
Cool. Yeah. Because I don't think Robin Williams was in the second one, right? Maybe he was. I don't know much about it. Happy Feet 1, great. Good job. The fucking Penguin movie, right?
All that to say, he did those movies maybe he wanted to make them for his kids or something, but like, he took everything, believe it or not, what he learned from the Pig movies and the Penguin movies, he put into his fucking car movies, okay?
Yeah. He's like, fuck being one for them. That's for me. I'm using that. Yeah. They're all for me. Yeah. Jesus Christ. That's so good. You should keep this in if you want. Like of us just like fucking losing it. Yeah. It's great. But speaking of losing it, that's my segue. it was recently announced. I lost it when I heard this news. I don't know if you've heard this yet. It was recently announced that starting in 2027, there's going to be a category for stunts now.
Sick.
At the Academy. Best stunt design is what I think it was called. It's great. That's awesome. That's a talk about a long time overdue. Just because like they're just unsung people. They're just like they're kind of like, oh yeah, that's the I don't know, like the blue collar aspect of it, which feels demeaning. Like sorry, those guys put just as much effort, maybe even more. They're putting their bodies on the line.
George Miller can fucking make storyboards all he wants, but you need someone who knows how to do it and how to shoot it to come to the table too, you know?
Yeah, it can be as epic as you want it to be.
Yeah.
As a drawing.
In theory.
To make it epic,
yeah,
you need an epic team.
Exactly.
And I'd like to credit, like, I'd like to believe that, like, the John Wick movies, even, like, The Fall Guy, and, like, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood are, like, kind of those movies in the zeitgeist, or at least in, like, my zeitgeist, that are, like, you know, stunt people really make it all happen, right?
Yeah.
They're great. So that's cool. Just wanted to shout that out before we dive into a movie that's extremely stunt heavy, right? So let me pull a quote from George Miller, the man himself. He said, I'm not going to do the accent, but he's got a lovely accent, just a lovely Australian older man. So just imagine that. For me, action is the purest use of the film language. People are revealed by extreme situations, and action has to be about character. Couldn't agree more. And I think that's probably what if I'm taking a very critical lens to like the Fast and Furious movies, I don't think much of the action is about character. I think they try by going like family and stuff like that. I just think that's really funny. Like I kind of watch them in an ironic way, but I still enjoy those, but I don't like love them like the way I do Mad Max movies. Because we got this guy behind the camera that preaches this and practices it. Because you can look back at all the Mad Max movies, and that the germ of that idea is still there. And I think he just iterates on it as he goes.
Yeah. I went through like a Mad Max rewatch last year, and I think every movie is it's cool because every movie is one more kind of step deeper into this post-apocalypse, you know, one more step more degraded. And everything that happens in that movie feels like it's of that era, you know, if that makes sense, right?
It makes sense to me, yeah.
And so I really love that at this point in the Wasteland timeline, things are getting a little tribal, a little feudal, you know, and this movie 100% feels like the means of their warfare, right? Is extrapolated from just how they live, you know? So for example, they need to ship resources back and forth between these locations, the Fury Road, you know?
Yeah.
And so it makes sense that, you know, in warfare, the one who has the most technology likely wins, right?
Controls the resource flows and stuff. Yeah.
And so they're like, we're going to build this thing called a war rig, right? A means of transporting these resources that can defend itself from motorcycles and fucking dudes in kites with flamethrowers.
The Octobus, dude.
Yes.
Okay, that's something I want to... Since we're talking about it now, one thing I fucking love about this movie is the names for things.
Oh, yeah.
Or the names for people. So I have a list.
They're so epic. That's what I'm trying to say. Is it just they feel so part of their time, you know?
Yeah. Like even the back of the box had like some kick-ass names. The Green Place of Many Mothers. We see that one time at the beginning of this movie.
Yeah.
It rocks. That's
Yeah.
a cool ass name. The Citadel, like what you're talking about. And then the Citadel like has those 2 other locations that it goes to, like the Bullet Farm, Gas Town.
Yeah.
Great. I love that shit.
It comes out of a vernacular that's so kind of simplified, but also embellishes the mythical feeling of the place. You know?
With an Australian flair. It is so Australian, and I love that he hasn't compromised that.
Yeah.
For our American ears.
Yeah. And it's I think he leans into it with that part where he's like, we're looking for the place of abundance. And he's like, what's abundance?
What's abundance? History man. Plentiful, many things.
Stuff, a lot of good stuff, you know?
A lot of good stuff. So like these characters and stuff. Here are some of the names. We got Furiosa. We got Immortan Joe. We got our Dementis. We got Scrotus. We got the People Eater. We got the Octobos. We got Rictus Erectus. We got the History Man. I love the History Man. I think we all love the History Man. The Bullet Farmer. We got Rizdale Pell. Okay.
Who's that?
That's the guy with the fucking hair. And he's got like a missing eye.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Which, fun fact, I actually didn't realize this until I'm watching the featurette, that he's the guy who also plays Immortan Joe in Furiosa.
Okay.
Because the original actor passed away after Fury
Yeah.
Road. R.I.P. But he...
Who was the original bad guy in the first Mad Max?
Yeah, Toe Cutter.
Yeah.
Which, watched again recently. He's great in it.
Yeah.
But, yeah, this guy, I want to say his name's Lackey Hume. Hulme. Sorry, my American accent. Probably butchering that name. He does a great job. And he was the one who fought to be Immortan Joe. Like, they cast him as Rizdale Pell. But he was like, I don't know, George. I think I can do Immortan Joe too. I can embody that character, because they were maybe playing with the idea of doing a face swap thing.
Yeah.
And he's like, nah. He's like, just put the suit on me. That's great. I think that's the correct ethos to go about it. I'm not.
But also, how much are you going to lose? It's like he wears a mask anyways.
Yeah.
Right. So as long as you can embody that action, you know.
Yeah.
It's great.
And I go, that's Immortan Joe.
Yeah.
That's what I care about. Yeah. Some more names. Toe Jam, Hungry Eyes. Big Jilly?
Who's the guy that like tweaks his nipples? What's his name?
Shit. Is he up here? Oh, he's not up here? Wow. Okay. This is a failure. Maybe it's Mr. Harley. No. Okay. I'll have to come back to that one. I love that guy.
Well,
he's like one of Immortan Joe's like main guys, like his right-hand man.
Who he eventually puts in charge of Gastown. Did you catch that? Because he's hanging out with Immortan Joe in the Citadel in Furiosa, but then in Fury Road, I think he's the one who's in charge of Gastown. So he got like promoted and given his own, spot.
Yeah. Another guy. Oh, Smeg is one of Dementis's guys.
Yeah.
He's the one he's like, pick a war boy. He's like, oh.
Yeah.
You know? Okay. But yeah, I love those. I love the little freaks of Furiosa. I love those guys.
The Octobos is some Hideo Kojima ass shit though. Like, describe him.
Yeah. Oh, he's got this black like hockey mask, which is kind of reminiscent of the Road Warrior, right?
Yeah.
That hockey mask. But then he's got these big like horns that go out like at least 3 feet or so.
Yeah.
And he's kind of like the leader of like this sub gang within Dementis's crew. And yeah, Dementis kind of miffs him a little bit by killing part of his crew to like sell this illusion or whatever. So that's where we get a little peek into how the Octobos operates. So then when he shows up in full force for the best action sequence ever, the stowaway, right? Yeah. He shows up and we see why he's called the Octobos. He's got this like kite, I want to say, like this big flowing kite that's just an octopus just in the air. And you're like, yeah, that is some Hideo Kojima, like, okay. But Kojima would be like, no, it's a real octopus in the sky.
But yeah, like that, I think it is another part of it. Like, so much of like traditional warfare, you know, and I'm talking like feudal warfare, right? Is the psychological, right? So this guy thought, I'm gonna have this giant fucking black octopus thing flowing behind me. When people see that flying through the sky, they're gonna run.
They're gonna be, oh fuck, the octopus.
Yes.
You better run. Yeah.
And so much of everything in this universe is embellished like that. I love it.
Yeah. Like Dementis himself, another reason why you should see this movie if you haven't, or you've been thinking about it. Chris Hemsworth as Dementis. Perfect.
Yeah.
I love it. And through looking at the special features, it didn't always feel that way when they were in prep. There was a lot of discussions had beforehand to be like, okay, what's this guy's deal?
Yeah.
So there's like a lot we don't see, but they've talked about it and he's just internalized it. And you can tell, like, he definitely employs all of those conversations into his performance in like little ways. Like one of the little ways is he said, Chris Hemsworth said, when he was taking his kids out one day, like to the beach or something, there was like some birds like fighting over some food and they were just like, he said something about that stuck with him and he put that into Dementis. So he's like a little twitchy and he's like, he'll just like peck at someone, which is great. And then there's like what he was before the apocalypse. We don't know. That's constantly changing. And you can kind of get that from the sense that he himself in the current is constantly changing too.
He's a survivor. He's just adapts to whatever is in front of him.
Yeah. Or he'll spin you a story that, as long as you believe it, that's what the truth was.
Yeah.
So he like starts, Dementis starts with like this white cape, which is a parachute, by the way. It's a parachute and he's using it as like a robe. He's very Messiah or like cult leader.
Yeah.
Like, and that's intentional. That was like the costume design was like, okay, you need to see right away that this guy is a cult leader and anyone who associates with him is a follower and they will die for him.
He's kind of an incompetent leader, you know?
Yeah.
And so everything about him is about kind of holding a carrot out for people. So that they'll do what he wants them to do, you know. But then, you know, he wins Gastown and then fucks that up. You know what I mean?
Yeah, over time. Yeah. But yeah, he's all about like putting on a big showy pageantry of violence, and that's kind of like how he keeps that respect from ever slipping.
Yeah.
Even when he fucks up, if you fuck up, just do this big showy violence, show of violence. And then it's like, okay, well, I'm not going to say anything. I'm not going to fuck with him because look what he did to this guy for less. Like the way they, really good scene after he's already like, captured Furiosa and, he's captured Furiosa and he's tormented and killed her mother. And then we like jump forward a little bit. There's this scene where his gang like zones in on like, just some other gang, some smaller outfit.
Yeah, they've chased these people down.
Yeah, to like a cliffside. And he's like, okay, we're going to play a game. There's only one like bike left. There's only one spot in our gang left, but there's 5 of you.
Yeah.
So we're going to make it a competition. And he's got this guy like tied up with chains to the backs of 5 other bikes, like one for each or 4. Yeah, one for each like appendage.
Yeah.
And they're like, okay, go, you know, and then they kill their friends.
Yeah.
To get a spot on this bike to pull apart another friend of theirs.
And that isn't that called drawing and quartering?
Yeah.
Which is itself is like a feudal thing. You know what I mean? So
it's very medieval.
Yeah.
And it's funny because George Miller does say that this, even though it's the apocalypse, it's very medieval.
Yeah.
In its in its sentiment, in its values.
100%. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's the future, but we're drawing from the past to make to make the future. Just the way how cyclical history can be.
Yeah.
You know. But that pageantry is just like the start of what Dementis can be. That's like how we first see him, right? That's like kind of what I call the white Dementis. But then because he's got he's got that parachute, he's got the cape. And then we get the red Dementis after he gets this after he meets the war boy on the way to the Citadel. He's like, "What's that?" He's like, "It's sky blood.
Yeah.
It's how I call my party or whatever for Valhalla." And he's like, "Ah, good for you." He's like, "I don't give a shit about any of that." And then like one of his crew.
So this guy's got a fucking arrow in his head. I don't listen to anything he says.
This guy doesn't even know what abundance is. Yeah. And then someone in his crew like shoots off the sky blood. Yeah. And it just and it's this beautiful shot of like red just bathing over him. And he's like, it wipes the red off his goggles. And he's just like, he's kind of like reborn in that moment. He's like, "Ooh, I've got an idea." And now he like rocks that red in his beard and his hair. Now the cape is tinged with red. That's the red Dementis now. He's like, "Ooh, now I'm going to take this energy and try to take over the Citadel." And it works. Like he rides he's high on his own supply. Yeah. And he makes it work. And then, jump forward in time because this movie does a few time jumps. And then he becomes like the Dark Dementis. And that's actually George Miller saying that. He's the Dark Dementis later on when he's kind of lost the cape. He's just got this vest now. He's even like lost his gangs, but he's got gray hair now. And now he's a little more cynical in the way he just grabs a guy than he needs and he'll use him as a shield. Yeah. To get what he wants.
Yeah. This is he's had Gastown for a while. He's mismanaged it to hell. And the desperation is starting to show. This is when he gets his monster truck, right?
Yeah. 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 And then he wants to take Bullet Farm. And then Furiosa is like sniping from the ridge. he's like, "Let me buy you for a second." Boom! That guy gets killed just so he can load a rocket launcher and shoot back at her. Yeah. But yeah, I love all the Dementis' changing personas. It's a fantastic element to this movie. I love his motorbike chariots. Mm-hmm. You love his motorbike chariots. We all love the motorbike chariots.
It's so like, not to bring it back to like Caligula, but it's so Caligula. It's so ostentatious. He's I think he and I don't know if Dementis knows who Genghis Khan is, right? But he's fashioning himself after Genghis Khan. He wants to be a warlord that leads his hordes across the wasteland. Dude,
Yeah. In the logic of the movie, he probably just asks the history man about some shit like that. And he's like, "Oh, that sounds epic. I'm gonna do that." Yeah. And then George Miller even says the idea for the motorbike chariots came about because he's like, "Oh, I love Ben-Hur."
Yeah. There you go.
Yeah. And we were talking about possibly pairing Caligula with Ben-Hur. So I'll absolutely take it back to Caligula and say we were on the pulse with that. And then I kind of alluded to this earlier, but if there's one scene to watch from this movie, and if you are not sold on it, you don't have a pulse, sorry. Like go shop for a coffin because you're dead. Yeah. The stowaway sequence.
That's when I say exhilarating, that's exactly the sequence I'm talking about.
Yeah. What do you think? If you're picturing the sequence now, what's going through your head of like, yeah, this is it. This is why it rocks.
I love all of the, like how necessity is the mother of invention, right? So all of the kind of weapons and techniques that these guys use to try and take down the war rig. I love that because it denotes a sort of history, a sort of like evolution of they've developed this methodology over time, right? And so that's where they have the spears with the explosives on the tips. That's where they have
war boys have that.
Yeah. That's where they have the flyers with the chains, they're gonna hook onto it so they can't get rid of them. They've got the flamethrowers and
that claw.
Claw too. Yes. all the defenses, what's the thing that spins?
The bummy knocker.
The bummy knocker. Like they have both sides in this exchange, in this skirmish. Like they've thought of all of the ways that the other enemy is going to try and make a move, And so I love that because it denotes a history. And it's not just like George Miller or like the stunt guys sitting around going, wouldn't this be cool? Even though it probably was, but like, it feels like this tribal warfare that has risen up, in the absence of guns, like no one really has, there are guns in this movie, but like, it's not the primary method of attacking,
Yeah. It is the last measure. Like Praetorian Jack, the driver of the war rig in this sequence, does have a gun. It is like only when someone gets right up in his face.
Yeah.
Or is like right here about to do something to him where he's like, otherwise it's like slamming on the brakes. Mm-hmm. It's signaling to the other war boys to do some stuff, to throw chuck some spears at them.
Yeah.
To use the crane, to replace a part on the war rig.
They have a crew, and even the people that are on the rig, like you've got Praetorian Jack. Praetorian is a title that was bestowed on him because this guy is so good at transferring Merton Joe's resources back and forth across the wasteland. Yeah, I love that medieval feel to it.
Yeah, he's a protected class.
Yeah,
it's awesome. Awesome in the terms of this movie. I'm not advocating it for real life, obviously. But yeah, I completely agree. And all that's character.
Yes.
All that is so much character in this action. And that's why it fucking rules. Like even the war rig itself, I was just like, God damn, I love movies when I was watching the special features for it. And the set designer or whoever was in charge of designing the war rig was just going over what each section on the war rig was, like the engraving on it. It's a history of Immortan Joe's rise to power, right? Even you're like, that's really cool.
That's so cool to be able to have that job and be like, we're going to like make up ways, like something is not even going to be like explored or even shown, but to have that internal logic is so cool.
Yeah.
So cool.
Yeah, I love the stowaway sequence. It's so fucking cool. George Miller says this scene is Furiosa coming into her own as a warrior.
Uh-huh.
And that's 100% true because before this, through no fault of her own, just from like dint of her being young, right? And having to hide to survive.
Yeah.
This was like...
And being a girl.
Yeah. And she was like, okay, I'm going to use this as an opportunity to escape and go back to the green place.
Yeah.
It turns into a fight. She wins. Praetorian Jack's like, listen, I get it, but come with me. And then we can do what you want to do, what you need to do. And that's great.
Yeah.
Great character stuff there too. But yeah, I remember watching the stowaway and I was like, damn, every single shot is better than the last. It's frankly frustrating how good this is. Like the intro shot of the road when you pan up from like that blacktop to on the horizon, someone approaching. Wow. Mm-hmm. The line, like after that vehicle goes by, we see like the shot of the Octobos's minions just kind of staged ever so perfectly, like a little row of little murderer's row right there, right? I was like, oh boy, let's go. And then like the Octobos's minions suddenly take flight. They're parasailing and throwing grenades down there. I'm like, oh man, what? And then the whole dynamite thing, these guys come up on a bike and in the like little sidecar and they're like, and they light the dynamite and Furiosa's down there like, shit, I just lost my bike. And they saw me and they're trying to fight me now too. And I go, and then one of the war boys takes the claw and he's like, crunches the motorcycle and just whoop, see you later. And she like just stops the dynamite. And I'm just like, oh my God, this is cinema right here, man. And then a war boy takes like his piss bottle when the radiator like loses it, like starts to leak out. And he's like, drink my piss. You know, the Bombie Knocker. We talked about the Bombie Knocker briefly, but that that younger actor who plays the war pup, who mans the Bombie Knocker. I want to say his name's like Quaden Wales, Bayless, Quaden Bayless. The story behind him being cast is so sweet because like a few years back, he was a video of him went viral because he was crying because he was being bullied at school. Like his mom took a video. It was like, hey, no one's doing anything about this, but like my son is being bullied just because he has like this condition. Yeah. Like this dwarfism condition. And George Miller caught wind of that and he's like, bring him in. And he cast him in a bit part in 3,000 Years of Longing. And he's like, I love him. Yeah. Like I loved his energy. He's got it.
You a war boy now.
Yeah. So he brought him in to be a war pup on this. Awesome. And he's just like, yeah, I'm here being a war pup. I'm doing the Bombie Knocker. And it's so cute. It's awesome. So I love the little war pup scenes in the Bombie Knocker.
I love how excited he is to turn on the Bombie Knocker. He goes, can I do the Bombie Knocker now?
Not yet. Which is it's funny in the moment, right? Yeah. But like, you know, taking a little step back and like considering the real stakes of the movie, that's a child soldier. Yeah. That's metal. That just shows you like what Immortan Joe's willing to do to protect his citadel, right? Recruit children. Right. It's fucked up.
And I mean like the if you want to kind of like get into like what this movie kind of means, you know, it's how different tyrants, you know, kind of come to power.
Yes. Okay. Know? Oh, I'm so glad you mentioned that because we skated over something that I did want to talk about, which was the detractors. I want to address the haters for a second. Okay. I want to address the haters just for a second, because you might be thinking, oh, a prequel to Fury Road with Furiosa. I've already seen Fury Road. Why would I need to see this? Like, I already know what happens in Fury Road. I think that argument is in bad faith because it barely deserves a response, really. If you've seen a trailer for it, you're like, oh, okay, this is about Furiosa, not directly informing what's going to happen in Fury Road. It's informing Furiosa, which is great because we don't get anything in Fury Road. We assume a lot. We assume completely what her backstory is because she's caged up. She's like Max, and she's pretty tight-lipped about it.
She is the mystery silent. She's just like Mad Max, kind of, you know? Yeah. And so it's like, you know, this is a weird way to think about it, but like the 3 Mad Max movies before Fury Road were kind of prequels to Fury Road. You know what I mean? So we got to see where Max came from, why he is the way that he is. Why can't we do that for another cool character?
Exactly.
It's because she's a woman and they're fucking weird little piss ants.
Yeah. And I'm not even going to say allegedly because that's exactly what it is. Yeah. That's exactly what it is. And I'm going to do something I dreaded doing. I'm going to talk about comic book movies. Okay. Just for a little bit. Because I think it's a fair comparison to make when a lot of like the big blockbuster, the big earners in theaters are comic book movies still. So yeah, it's a fair target, I think. So you could argue, why am I going to go see such and such comic book movie when the comic book already exists and I already know how that story plays out? Right. Why would you go see that? That's the same argument, right? It sounds a little condescending if you say it like that, but the short answer should be obvious. It's because it interests you for X reason and Y reason, you know? Yeah. So I just think that's a bad faith argument, and like, don't engage in that kind of shit because they're not genuinely interested in your answer for why you should see it. They're kind of just poking the bear.
Yeah. Yeah.
They're trying to rally
made the decision that they don't want to see the movie.
Exactly.
For reasons we all know, but you know.
Yeah. So it's just intended to make you feel a little stupid.
Yeah. I'm hard pressed to find a legitimate reason against seeing Furiosa. Why would you argue to try and convince people to not watch a movie though?
Right.
You know,
from George Miller.
Yeah.
I guess you just don't know. If you don't know, watch it,
Yeah.
then you'll know. Then you'll know.
Yeah.
If you watch it, the answer is there. It's the film. Enjoy it because it fucking rocks. But yeah, so I didn't want to like just take down comic book movies. I just wanted to like use that as an example because there's people that love the comic books and go see the comic book movies, even though they maybe know what the story is or where it's building to. They're just like, okay, I'm bought into the story. I'm bought into the idea. I can put aside any preconceptions I have, hopefully, and enjoy it for what it is, or maybe not be so in love with every decision that was made, but can respect it for trying to set out to accomplish entertainment.
Well, Furiosa is not the first fucking prequel to ever be made.
Yeah.
Yeah. Rogue One came out before and made a boatload of fucking money.
Yeah.
And if you are just against prequels, you're a certain kind of hater. That's fine. I am of the opinion of like, but this is cool.
Yeah.
Like who cares if you think it like cheapens like it doesn't, you are perfectly good just not watching it and then letting the first movie exist on its own in your mind. Yeah. You can do that. Why do you have to be so loud about like trying to convince other people to not engage with it,
Exactly. Like I have since checked out from like Marvel comic book movies, but I'm not going to be like, dude, why are you even going to see Captain America? Aren't you an adult?
Yeah.
Like whatever, go see it.
I'm not going to spend my time or money on it, but like if you want to, that's, if that's cool for you, if you're a person who has a badge of honor about watching everything Marvel, that's cool for you. I love that for you because that's a world that you love. I want more Mad Max, and I'm kind of really pissed off that we're probably not going to get more Mad Max.
Yeah, because if you're normal at all, if you're hearing us talk about like feuding rivalries about like what movie's worth your time or whatnot, you're like, I don't give a shit about any of that. You've probably even heard that this movie bombed, that Furiosa was a bomb at the box office. Because
was it technically a bomb?
Yeah, because it didn't make its money back threefold. Right. It like barely made its production money back.
Right. So it didn't make $1 billion like Iron Man 47.
Yeah. Or like I actually have a list of the top 10 box office earners from the year it came out.
Okay. What were they?
Let's go over them. Number 1, Inside Out 2.
Okay. Sequel.
Also, children exist.
Yeah.
That's fine.
Yeah.
I'm not going to be like, damn, no more Inside Outs. If the kids love it, that's fine.
Yeah.
Deadpool and Wolverine.
Well,
kids exist. All right, that was,
even
that was
when
my
they're
one
adults.
stab. Yeah.
I just don't get it. Like, is Max that like as a character that integral to the success of this universe? It's weird because Fury Road. Oh wait, no, it was Mad Max Fury Road, right? Okay, he wasn't even that big of a character in that movie. If I'm being honest, he didn't drive shit in that movie.
I don't think so either. He has like some fine moments. Like I think I saw Tarantino talking about it, and he's like, "Oh, what really sold me on Tom Hardy as Mad Max was that little thumbs up he gives." He's like, oh, yeah. Like that's like one little moment, right? But it's not the whole movie. What you watch Fury Road for is fucking Charlize Theron as Furiosa. Like she's great. She's fantastic. She is the lifeblood of that movie. And that character is the lifeblood of this movie too.
I think Furiosa as a character takes a backseat just to the world.
The world's great too. Yeah.
I want to see what else is going on in the wasteland.
You're talking about like Scrotus, a Mad Max Saga. The Octobos, Mad Max
Saga. Do an Octobos prequel origin story.
Little D.
It's so weird that like you could see something this inventive and and go, no,
no thanks for me.
not for me.
But I'll go see Mufasa the Lion King.
Yeah. Well,
Number 6, by the way. Almost $1 billion.
A kid movie is going to beat out a rated R action movie any day.
The rest are mostly kids movies on this list, by the way.
Yeah, because the parents, whether they want to see the movie or not, have to buy tickets too. So
yeah, the only exceptions I think are Wicked. That's fine. That's a Broadway. That's classic Hollywood right there.
Wicked is for a different kind of nerd, you know. And I'm not gonna shit on Wicked.
And like the movies have adapted Broadway musicals for a long time. Yeah, that's normal. That's normal. Dune Part 2. Yes.
Hell yeah.
Dune.
Yeah. Some actual real science fiction.
Let the spice fucking flow, man. You know what I mean? And then I'm going to do this one just because we actually haven't talked about this on the podcast, but I'm going to do it officially. Kong, Godzilla, X Kong, the new empire. That's our inside joke every time we talk about Godzilla is to go X
Kong, X Godzilla.
Yeah, that $500 million.
And
Thoughts?
like it's same thing with Star Wars. I want more Godzilla movies than less. So I think that was probably from a quality perspective not the best in the line of the MonsterVerse movies, but there's a bunch of Skull Island fucking rocked.
Dude, yeah. Godzilla, Gareth Edwards.
Yeah.
Godzilla, Skull Island were heaters.
Yeah.
They were great.
Yeah.
I love them. I've been pretty lukewarm on the rest since.
I think, and then haven't the other ones been helmed by
different people? Well, the last two, so
same guy,
X,
and
Godzilla versus Kong were Adam Wingard.
Yeah. I don't like the Adam Wingard ones. Sorry to say.
Make the guest 2, please. I'm begging you. Or you're next. No, you don't have to make sequels, but back to those kinds of films, Adam. Would love to see those.
But you like Dune 2 was one of the highest grossing movies. So I don't think it has anything to do with it being like an original thing. I think that it didn't have Timothée Chalamet in it, and that's why it wasn't successful.
They saw Chris Hemsworth's abs, and they're like, "No, we need stringy Timothée Chalamet on it.
Let's do another Furiosa movie, but cast Timothée Chalamet as Furiosa. Oh, and we'll get somewhere.
You know what's funny? We're getting Anya in the next Dune. Because we got her a little bit in Dune 2.
Oh,
so
yeah.
That actually might be happening. We're on the pulse.
Crossover.
Yeah.
I wish I had someone could point to what the true answer is behind the quote unquote box office failure of Furiosa, but it wasn't because it's a poorly made film.
No.
Because there are so many movies that make boatloads of money that are badly put together movies.
Exactly.
And George Miller is a goddamn master.
George Miller is a goddamn master.
Yes.
Okay? And even Anya Taylor-Joy knows this because I was watching the behind the scenes and she felt strongly about her character so much that she actually changed that climactic confrontation with Dementis.
Uh-huh.
It was supposed to be a little bit more muted, a little bit more silent protagonist getting revenge. She's like, no, I need to kick the shit out of him.
Yeah.
And they fought for months in pre-production. And he's finally you know what? I hear you. You made your case. It's got to change. So if you think that it failed because of Anya Taylor-Joy, no, she wants it to be great too. She believes in it wholeheartedly. And there's a great quote. It's very quick from the behind the scenes documentary that I think we should all live by. No matter what, trust George.
Absolutely.
Trust George. Make it new. Make it true.
Those are the rules to live by, I think.
And make it epic.
I think our connections with these two movies as a double feature, I think is simple. They're just great prequels,
Yes.
We have the stories that they precede are fantastic stories, and they're timeless stories. And it took the people behind them to go, hey, I think there's a little more story here that we can explore. And they're not cheap cash-ins either of an IP. They are, I think, movies that were made with a lot of love and a lot of dedication, and a lot of effort to make them as good as they could possibly be.
Yes. And if you bring some like misguided preconceptions to them, that's on you.
Yeah.
Honestly.
Yeah.
Just meet it where it's at. This is like Furiosa is a Fury Road prequel dealing with Furiosa's trials and tribulations. Rogue One is a New Hope prequel dealing with brand new characters. That's exciting. That should be celebrated, that a big franchise like Star Wars is like, hey, new.
Yeah.
Instead of, hey, Luke and Han and Leia, right? So I think we should celebrate that, even though we do have some critical things to say about them.
Sure.
That's fine.
They're also two movies that like they exist in like a pre-established world too,
right.
You know? And I like, it's so fucking cool to have like a sandbox, you know, and go, I'm going to make something new in this sandbox, but over here.
But make it true.
Yes.
Yeah.
Make it new, make it true.
Make it new, make it true.
And that's PhantasmaCast, where we watch our favorite movies 2 at a time. Thanks for watching. As always, follow us wherever you listen to podcasts and at 2 Certified Bangers on social medias. Thanks so much. We'll see you next time.